this is Malorian, and this will be another Paintisode. For those who have not seen a Paintisode before, basically it's a time where I sit down and do some painting, and I'll be yapping about stuff, and so really you don't need to watch this. The whole idea is that you pull out your own painting things, you kind of paint while you listen to me, and in the end, I have stuff painted, you have stuff painted, and we all kind of win. Today I'm actually going to be working on some War Machine stuff. I'll be working on some Sword Knights. These guys here are from Signar. They're kind of like the cheap throwaway unit guys of, hey, yeah, you know, like, run up to the enemy. I'm sure you're going to be fine. Us guys with guns will stay back here, and you just run up. You'll be fine. So that's what these guys are. I've actually done a couple of them, and a lot of these guys already have the first few layers on, so I'm really not taking one and going from start to finish, but I have like 8 of them that I need to put on the last couple of colors, and then of course, like so many different armies and systems, for some reason, if you are the leader, you have to be showing your face, because, you know, if you're not showing your face, how would they know you're the leader, right? That's clearly, there's no other way to show that. So I'll be working on that. One of the first things I want to talk about is sad times as it comes to my battle report I tried doing on the weekend here. Of course, I am doing this campaign right now, which is around the world in 12 games. And the current army, where you're trying to get a game against this army this month, was demons. But that's no problem, because a new person that I figured out lived by my place, he plays demons. So we set up a game, and I thought, you know what, let's make this something special. I'll also set up the camera, the video camera, so I can get like a full video of the whole thing, and I'll voice it over, because I know a lot of you guys like watching it that way, and it's going to be great. And as we're playing the game, it was a great game. And then all of a sudden, at the very end, I kind of look at the computer, and for some reason, it's saving the video. Whenever you do like a high-res video, it takes a really long time for it to save after. So I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Had to kind of wait till it's done and figure, well, I don't know what happened, but at least it was at the very end, right? So I can still do the battle report for showing what's there, and I can just say what happens at the very end. But yeah, then I find out that what happened is that since my computer was pretty much full, because between all the family pictures and all the battle reports I have on my computer, it was chock full. And once it was full, it just refused to save anymore. And not only that, it also refused to save that video I was currently working on. So basically what I'm saying is I lost the entire thing, which was a shame, because it was a really good game. So I thought one of the first things I'd do here is just kind of actually explain what would happen in that game, because we are arranging to have another one to kind of make up for it, but this one's actually going to be a Triumph and Treachery. Kieran Dunleavy is going to be hosting it over at his place, and it's going to be my first time trying out Triumph and Treachery. So that's going to be a blast, I'm sure. And yeah, the whole big thing there, though, is that, of course, it's not a regular game. It won't be an exact reenactment. The one was 2,500 points, but this will be 2,000 points a person, and there's probably going to be, you know, I think it's going to be 4 of us in the Triumph and Treachery game. Anyway, in that game that we played, that was 2,500 points, I was doing dwarves, and I did my normal mix where my general was the runesmith with the, basically the Dispel Scroll. I had my BSB with great weapons set up to be tanky with a 1+ save. That's it for characters. I'm finding with dwarves, I'm liking it nice and cheap, because the other stuff is so good. Past that, I had 40 warriors with great weapons. I then had 20 thunderers with shields. They're mainly there for watchtower, plus, you know, they're not that bad anyway. But then I had 40 hammerers. They were awesome. 25 miners. And then come the war machines. Actually, no, 2 gyrocopters And then the war machines come in, and I got 2 cannons, 2 organ guns, and a flame cannon. And that's the big thing where it's so hard to justify characters in my dwarf list, because it's like, man, like, do I really want to have this other character, or do I want to have another war machine, right? So, I mean, I can make a pretty awesome lord from all the dwarf runes. I really like the build that has the 5 wounds and toughness 7 and all this awesome stuff. But at the same time, that could be like 3, 4 war machines, right? So I keep on coming back to that. Anyway, his side, he was doing demons, but he was doing kind of a more nicely balanced list. So he had a Demon Prince of Tzinch, who was flying around with the Lore of Metal. He had a Herald of Khorne, who was in a horde of bloodletters. He also had 3 units of the horrors, so he had a lot of magic and a lot of channeling and all that stuff. Then as well, what else did he have? He had 2 skull cannons. He must have had other stuff. He had 2 beasts of Nurgle. He had a unit of 6 flamers. So, you know, like a lot of different stuff in there. The game that we got was Meeting Engagement, and right off the bat, I got kind of a bonus because his Demon Prince started off the board, which was nice because he was going first, so slowing that bad boy down was pretty awesome. Meanwhile, on my side, I had my Warriors start off the board and the Thunderers start off the board, plus the Miners, who always kind of start off the board because they're jerks. And yeah, and he got first turn. I was a little bit worried. I did roll up getting the army-wide hatred, so that was really nice. But I knew if his skull cannons did their jobs early, I could lose some key war machines and things could go poorly. Luckily, things went fairly well. First turn, he's really just coming at me. Isn't able to really do anything with his skull cannons between misfire and so forth. But actually, no, I believe he did destroy one of my cannons. But then in reprisal, I really kicked his butt first turn. My remaining cannon was able to kill his Demon Prince, who had come on the board. Between 2 gyrocopter flames and the flame cannon, plus some organ guns, that horde of bloodletters was decimated. Absolutely decimated. And then just some like little wounds. I also had like a flamer chariot going around too. But yeah, that was a pretty rough turn for him, to be completely honest. But past that, he did kind of come back. Kind of the further turns, I had some bad luck with some war machines where I had 2 of them explode on the same turn and all the other ones pretty much not doing anything. So one of the things that also really killed it is that eventually he charged in with both of his Beasts of Nurgle and his skull cannon into the horde of warriors, and I was like, oh, this is no problem, right? I mean, I might lose this first charge, but otherwise I'm going to grind the guy down. And, you know, he kills like a rank of mine. I almost kill 1 beast completely. I think I destroy the skull cannon as well, but he wins combat. It's like, I'm steadfast 9. Fail. I'm just outside of BSB range, and just like that, I lost my entire horde. So all of a sudden, a game that looked to be completely in my favor was turned on its head, and really came down to, after that, my miners coming on and doing their work, the hammerers getting up in the grill and starting to get their points. And near the end, it was ending up with, say, like the hammerers on the front and the miners on the flank of those bloodletters, finishing them off, killing off other things, and I did get the win at the end. Unfortunately, though, as much as an interesting game as this was, yeah, it was around at the end there where we were just cleaning up the bloodletters that the computer screws up. And that's kind of the killer thing of doing these videos is if I take pictures and there's a bad picture. For starters, I'll normally see it, right? I take a look at the computer or the camera screen after I take the picture and I'll notice, oh geez, that looks blurry and I can take another one. Or worst case scenario, if I don't catch it there, just during the bug report, I just have to say, sorry guys, this is one bad picture, let's move on. But when you do these larger videos and it screws up, you lose everything. Now, clearly one of the things I need to do otherwise, and clearly I'm not totally against taking a video because that's what I'm doing right now on my computer, doing a high-res video here. But I've really gone through, cleared out a lot of videos here, trying to make some room. There's a lot of family stuff on this computer, which should be backed up on a different location. So we'll be taking care of that too. But it's just one of those risks, right? And it didn't have to be an error based on my computer being full. It could have been something else as well too, right? So it's just one of those things to keep in mind where I do think that those bell reports are more informative. You know, if I'm watching somebody else's bell report, which is a full bell report, I can see the screen and see how everything moved exactly. I get a lot more from it. The only thing is I always want to make sure that they're sped up to the point and voiced over, because otherwise if I see one which is like 2 hours, I just simply don't have the time to watch that. But yeah, for those out there who are wanting to do, and I'm totally going to give them credit for it, the VidHammer style reports, just know that there is that risk to it. So there is that unfortunate and sad tale. But like I said, then we're going to be doing a Triumph and Treachery here on Friday. Looks like there's going to be 4 of us. I'm going to be switching to my Orcs and Goblins because really you can do dwarves in it, but the big thing about Triumph and Treachery, and as I say these things, I'm in no way a professional or a really knowledgeable person when it comes to Triumph and Treachery. This will be my first game. However, I have read the rules, and you get points for what you destroy and what you take off, which seems like, yeah, I mean, that's what every game is like. But remember, you are on there with everybody else. And if I go and my war machines go, and let's say it's do the same thing with the bloodletters. I let loose and I decimate those bloodletters, but I don't wipe them out. But then somebody else comes in and then they kill off the rest of the bloodletters. Cha-ching! They get the big points. I don't. So yeah, you got to kind of watch for that. And that's why you want to kind of take things that get in there and finish the job. So that's why I'm going to be going to Orcs and Goblins. I requested that the demon guy be demons again, just so I can get the game against them. And he did say yes, which means that probably, I mean, this is a whole alliance thing, right? There's 4 people. It's all about the treachery. And so clearly, because he's throwing me a bone and he's being demons for this, although he'd probably rather be something else, I'll have to back him up a bit and help him out during the game. So we'll see how that actually unfolds and how that goes down. But so far, it looks like I'll be Orcs and Goblins, like I said, 2,000 points. I think I'm going to build it around, what's his face, Super Orc. So that's going to be fun, although I'm not really totally sure. I just think it'd be fun, right? All the guys will be there playing the game or are people who like doing the game for fun. The one other guy, of course, we already said he'll be demons. Kieran is saying he's going to be his Tomb Kings, which seems like, again, one that you probably don't want to be like that for a game like this, because it seems like normally, unless they're talking about the big like chariot charge, they're more in an attrition type style. And then I guess the other guy is Lizardman. So there you have it. I definitely know that from a lot of times my Orcs and Goblins do very well against Lizardmen. So that's good to see. But you know what? Going into it, I don't even I mean, clearly I'm not going to play stupid, and if I can win, I'll win. But I'm more looking at this as an opportunity just to relax with some buddies and have some fun, right? I'm not going to be there and super over analyzing things. A lot of times if I just see that I can betray someone just to get another combat in, yeah, whatever. My orcs are going in. I was almost thinking I should goof around more, and I would actually make myself like a separate table, and then I'd roll a dice, kind of like a triumph and treachery animosity table that'd be more based off of, if I roll a 1, I have to go after the person I had an ally with previously, right? Or something like that. Or if I roll a 6, I just have to charge the closest thing. Or I don't know, something like that, right? Just to kind of make it more fun and wacky. But probably no need to make a new system even more complicated. But hey, it'll make it fun. So there's that part. Do have some more tournaments coming up here. Unfortunately, as you see here, a lot of it's going to be War Machine. This first one I'm going to in 3 weeks could actually be Fantasy. I had the choice of doing Fantasy or War Machine, but I'm actually doing War Machine at this one mainly to give myself inspiration to get this painted. I have lots and lots of Fantasy painted. I mean, I could never paint anything for Fantasy again, and I would be completely fine. That would not hinder me whatsoever, right? I have over 10,000 points of Orcs and Goblins, and I don't care what comp you have, I can make an Orc and Goblin list that will do just fine. However, for War Machine, there's some tournaments that demand that you are painted, and I just don't have everything painted. I have a few things, but really when we're looking at the 50-point level, especially if I want to go with troop heavy, I just don't have it painted. And normally that'd be like no big deal. I can set up a long-term goal. But the thing is with me coming back to Edmonton, whereas now, I mean, I come home from work at 5 o'clock, and apart from my phone call home, I can just sit in here and paint the whole time, right? So I can really get a lot done. So that's why I am deciding that I am going to be doing these guys for the tournament to force myself so that over the next 3 days, I am going to be blitzing out these guys. I'm doing like 30 models in 3 days. And yeah, I mean, after that's done, I'll be sitting in a great spot as far as having painted armies for Signar goes. I'll still need to paint even more for the tournament. Like I said, I mean, normally War Machine has a lot fewer models than Fantasy, but you can still make builds that are based on having lots, but it's still nothing compared to Fantasy, right? This list I'm working on now, I'm sure many would just say straight up, it's a bad list because it has too many troops in it. And remember, you have only so much time for your turn. So if you have too many guys, you're just not going to be able to do it in. Luckily, I'm a fast player because of playing really space orcs in 40K. And even then, I think in my list I have 45 models. And really, if you compare that to Fantasy, that could be 1 unit, right? So, you got to keep all these things in perspective here. Oh, I'll have to come back and do those dots. Totally forgot about that. Derp. So anyway, I'll be doing that. So I'll be running the team event there. Hopefully you guys don't mind that I did that. I mean, what I like doing to promote my events is I'll make a video for them. Because, there's people out there that don't want to be bothered to have to go and find a player's pack and stuff like that. So what I'll do is just make a video on my channel and link it there. And I figured that, I mean, even for you guys who are across the ocean and there's no way you're going to come to one of my tournaments, at the very least, you might be interested in the way that I'm running it. So that's the reason why I don't just make it private. I figure, hey, maybe you guys want to see it too. But yeah, I'm doing a team event that I'm running there in a style that I think would be interesting for fantasy as well. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't use that format for fantasy. I guess now I might as well explain it. There is 3 people per team. And from there, the way you do it is first you have one person who is like your lead player. He is your, for a lack of a better term, like the team captain, and he's the person you want to put forward because either he's your strongest player or he's just, good at taking the all-comers type thing. The opponents go, and from there, 2 remaining, they'll pick who's going to be facing him. You're doing the same, picking from the other 2 who's going to pick their lead person. Those matchups are set, and that leaves the final person from either side. They're just paired up against each other, and there you go. There's your matchups. You go and play, and then summarize up the results and do pairings from there. So really easy thing. I'm sure like the first time you do it, you'll be like, oh, okay, so what do we do? What do we pick? What are we supposed to be doing here? But really overall, it is a pretty straightforward system. And I'm sure if I make a piece of paper that says, and there's like a flow chart, put the name of your lead player here, this is who you have remaining, who did they pick, blah, 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 really kind of walking you through it. It'll be just fine. But anyway, at that same event, there's someone else running the Steamroller tournament on a different day, so I'm going to be playing there. I haven't sent in my list yet because it really is dependent on whether I'm able to paint this stuff. If I can't, I will default back to something else that I have painted already, which would not be as great. Because you probably want some troops, and it's a whole thing where you want the right pairings and stuff when it comes to War Machine. And if I had to use what I had painted, I would be bringing 2 casters that kind of cover the same sort of matchups, and it just wouldn't be ideal. So if I'm able to get this done, it could be pretty interesting. I'm hoping to go Striker 1 and Striker 2. For non-War Machine players, just to give you a quick little synopsis of what that means, Striker 1, he has an ability once per game where he vastly increases the armor of all the friendly faction models around him. So what you do is take something that already has really high armor, and then boom, it is to the point where during that turn, don't even attack them because you can't even hurt these guys. And then clearly during that turn, you're trying to take out key targets from the other side to the point that when they come back at you, they do not have the resources to take out your tough elements. It would a good comparison would be say that I could take the monster mash for my high elves, so I have all these monsters going around. And then one turn, I decide that, okay, boof, once per game, they're all going to have a 2+ ward. And during that turn, where I have a 2+ ward, I am charging them in. I'm trying to take out all the cannons, things like that. Really just jumping into those great weapon units so that on the following turn, where I lose that, you're pretty much at a state where you can't deal with them anymore. So that one will be pretty good. There's a big Stormwall Jack that I have 1 painted. I need the second one painted, and that can take a while. The model is really big and has a lot of stuff. It'd be kind of like actually painting the Arachnarok. When you have all the stuff on there, it's that kind of scale, probably a little bit bigger. So that's that one list, which requires painting. The other one is Striker 2. His big thing is that really people say it that he can go Super Saiyan. So anytime there, I can roll 1 to 3 dice, and he gets that many points stronger. I then roll that many dice again, and that's how much damage I take. So it's a little bit dangerous. But basically, I just might want a list that delivers him. So I can get to the opposing leader and destroy him. And that's why in this list, I have dudes upon dudes. So I am just swarming my opponent and then delivering him. So that's why I have to paint up tons and tons of guys for this. Um, yeah, like I said, I have to paint about 30 models, and then I have to paint about another 40 after this. Sorry, another 10 after this. Meaning, with what I had painted, actually, there's probably more about like 55 models in this, which is, again, probably like 1 unit in fantasy. So, as bad as I feel sometimes, like, oh man, I have so much to paint compared to what I'm used to doing, right? Like when the Orcs and Goblins first came out, well, might as well get painting because you got to get those 40 Savage Orcs done. I'm glad I did because I sure got my worth out of those guys. Holy crow. That was the first thing I did. I was surprised that more people didn't do it. I'm guessing a lot of people didn't actually realize in the beginning how good the Savage Orc Biggins were. But yeah, there's a lineup at the store to get the new Orcs and Goblins book. And while I'm going through to grab the book, I'm also grabbing 4 boxes of Savage Orc Biggins. Well, just Savage Orcs. And nobody else was. So, all right. That's fine. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 50 strength 5 attacks is not a good thing. But I'm pretty sure it is. The good thing, too, is, that was at a time where people weren't used to dealing with that too much. Really, when I first rolled out the Savage Orc Biggins, I was just rolling people over. And, you kind of get the same thing now with the Dark Elf Witches, except that people are already used to it, right? They've been fighting the Biggins for years, and they know that you have to redirect them because they're forced to overrun and blah, blah, blah. So they don't have it as good as the Biggins did because the meta has already adjusted to deal with that type of thing. Even then, I'm surprised the number of people that still just walk right into it. Oh no, it's a whole bunch of witch elves. Throw my units into them? No, redirect them. So easy. Bog them down? Yeah, I guess you could, but why don't you just redirect them and flank them? So, anywho, other events past that, then there'll be a. This is all in July. There's nothing going on this month. Then in July, there will be another steamroller, but that one doesn't need to be painted, so I can take whatever I want. Then there will be a fundraising tournament I'll be running along with my buddy Brian. His name's also Brian. And this one is because in War Machine, they actually have kind of like a team event that they do where it's different countries. It's almost like the World Cup, almost like the Olympics, but you got countries sending out these teams. Last year, there was no Canada team. There was 2 teams from the States. There's teams from all over, Germany, all the rest of it. And I believe they met in Poland, it was. And they just do like a team tournament to see who was the best. And this year, Canada is also putting together a team. And clearly, that's a ways to go. You're not like, geez, I'm bored. I'm going to go to Poland. Go grab a snack or something. It's quite the financial investment. And so what we're trying to do here is, especially because there's a good number of local boys who made it onto the team, which just kind of goes to show the type of meta that's here for War Machine, how strong it is. We're going to be doing this fundraiser to try and get some money going for them. So we'll be working together to do that. Pretty much he has the connections to get the people to come, and I have the terrain and a really good price on a venue. So put us together, and we'll raise some money for Canada. It'd be nice at some points to be at that level where I could make it to that sort of team. Definitely a ways out. That's the thing. I'm at the point now, like I've talked about before, where I'm above average for War Machine, but I'm just still not there. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the people that I know that are going to this, they just know all the casters, and that's for people who do or fantasy. It's kind of difficult to understand what this really implies and what this knowledge gap is. Of course, in fantasy, it's really important to know what all the other armies do. So, of course, you're looking into it, and you got to know all the units from the different armies, and got to kind of know all the special characters, especially the competitive ones, and know the general army-wide rules and stuff like that, right? And so, of course, if you go into a game and you don't realize how deadly dark elves are, or orcs and goblins, you're going to get destroyed, right? So there's definitely a knowledge aspect when it comes to fantasy, where it almost doesn't have to do so much with how good of a player you are. There's a certain point where it also matters how much do you even know? How much have you studied up on the other armies? This is 10 times fold in War Machine because your casters, your leaders, really change what your force can do. And there's tons of them from all the different armies. So if we're talking about orcs and goblins, let's pretend that there's a hero choice you can take, which makes it so that boar boys get double speed when they charge, right? If you don't know this is going to happen, oh boy, they're going to be all over you, and you can really be in big trouble, right? Whereas normally be like, oh, that unit, the boar boys, yeah, they're no big deal. What do you mean they charged me turn one, right? Like, you really have to know this stuff. Or maybe another one which just doesn't allow you to take armor saves or something like that, right? If you don't know these things coming in and don't prepare for them, you just get destroyed. So when you talk to these other players who are going to this high-level play, they really do have that knowledge set. They've been playing for years and years. They spend the time studying to know all the different rules. And one of my disadvantages is about how I'm 2-gaming it, right? I have to know all the rules for War Machine, and I have to know all the rules for Fantasy. So it makes it tough. And I'm at that level where if I just got a little bit more practice in it, I feel that I could be just in those. I mean, it's not like, man, if only I didn't do Fantasy, then I'd be on Team Canada. But it's not that. It's more like if I was able to play 2 more games every week of War Machine, and at least dedicate myself to that, I could be at the level where I'm always one of those guys where when you have a pair up against me, it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be a tough game type thing, right? Because this guy knows his stuff. Right now, I feel that when people win this case now, where it's like, oh, you're up against Malorian, in fantasy, it's like, oh no, what am I going to be facing now? Is it going to be trolls, black orcs? What sort of shenanigans is he pulling on me this time? Whereas in War Machine, it's like, oh, okay, I wonder how he's going to screw himself and, make some stupid mistakes, so I'll win this time. So, did I get the good? Yeah, I got this. Just going across. I'm doing one of the colors right now, which it's just everywhere. And so this step is just taking a really long time. It's one of those things where sometimes you do a color on a model, and let's say you're doing like a brown. It's like, oh, okay, this is just going to be his pants. So you can go through and you can paint the 10 guys' pants. You're like, yeah, there you go, color done. I have accomplished something. This one here is one where all these small details around him are all gold. And so I got to spend all this time going through trying to pick them all out, and it just takes a long time. The good news is that once I'm done the gold on these guys, I'm pretty much done. So anyway, looking at this, we are now past halfway I am, man, just doing the gold on the third guy after I did this dark silver on all of them, so it's coming along. I didn't want to make any promises at the start of this video of how many guys I was going to finish because I am batch painting. I was tempted to do them in groups of 2 just for the video so I could have something to say like, this is what I completed, but it really is best practice just to do them in a larger batch. You know, you have less time jumping between colors and stuff like that, and you're really just getting into it. Plus, there's more of a chance just to, you know, like I say, just get into a groove and get it done. But man, if you fall out of that groove and you notice, man, I've been doing gold for an hour, I'm nowhere, then it can be a little bit disheartening. Man, it is hot up here. One thing I cannot stand is the heat. And you're thinking, okay, I live in Canada. I live in Fort Mac, you know, like I'm not too far up from where people live in igloos. You know, it shouldn't be that hot, but oh man, this house. I wonder if I should be opening this window. It's one of those little gambits at the end of the day, you know. Do I open the window to let the cold air in, or is it going to trick me and it's still hot air, and I'll just be making it hotter? And I'm sure to other people who live around the equator and wherever, right? I'm sure they'd come here and they'd laugh at me. This isn't hot at all, but I just can't stand it. We have some family that's down in Houston. Whenever I go down there, it's like going to hell. You know, like, do I have to go to Houston? Can I just, you know, go to jail? You know, it'd probably be more enjoyable. I mean, the family we have there is great, right? They're all great fun, and the time I spend with them is nice, but I am just dying from the heat. Luckily, we have not gone there in a while. Plus, they have snakes. That's one really nice thing you don't have to worry about up here in Canada. Me and the kids were watching a show talking about these giant anacondas and how they've eaten homeless people and stuff. I'm like, oh, is there any snakes in Canada? Nope. Not wild ones. They could escape. They could get out. They could live to the winter, and then they're dead. There's just, snakes do not live at minus 40. It just does not happen. I miss... It's always nice when you get to a detail of a model and then you don't remember painting that on the previous model. Makes the process go even slower. Let's come along. Yeah, so I'm also trying to decide whether I should do a Paintisode each of these 3 days or whether I should just do one and say, like, that's probably enough. You guys don't want to get too much of this. Although I know there are guys that are saying, you know, more Paintisodes. They really only get stuff done when they're dedicating, right? And so that's always awesome to hear, right? I'm always happy to hear that doing these Paintisodes is really helping other people get their stuff done. One of the big arguments that's going on up in this area now is actually about painting, because in fantasy, there's really no question about it. If you're going to a tournament, you got to paint your crap. In War Machine, however, the default for the regular Steamroller tournament is that it does not have to be painted. And so a lot of people just don't paint their stuff. And really, if a tournament comes up saying, oh, you need to have your stuff painted to do this Steamroller, they can, you know, kind of raise their nose to it and say, poof, that's not you know, they're not following the rules. You know, I'm not going to go to that. That's not a legitimate tournament. You know, so, like I said, this is kind of the one that's coming up because I'm painting these guys for a Steamroller, and that's where the arguments come up about why do my things have to be painted, because normally they don't need to be, and I find it more enjoyable to play against painted models, and that I somebody else counters. I don't really care about painted models at all, so uh, I kind of wish, and it's weird too because Privateer Press has multiple formats. This is something else you don't really see in fantasy. We do have our own tournament formats that we've kind of developed ourselves, right? Where there's like the 20-0 system, and there's win-loss over if there's 100 points or more, or there's major minor wins that are described by whatever you use your definition to be. But those are all type of things where it's not like Games Workshop said, this is the 2014 20-0 system. This is all stuff that we as gamers have kind of created for ourselves. Well, for Privateer Press, they make their own formats. They have it, so this is the Steamroller 2014 packet, and this is the one for Hardcore, and now they have Iron Gauntlet. And the problem is that between these, they have different requirements. So for Steamroller, like I said, you don't need to be painted. It's an option. Like there's a back page that has different variants, but the default is that you do not need to be painted. However, for other variants, other formats rather, say the Hardcore and the Iron Gauntlet, you do need to be painted by default. And I just don't know why they do that to themselves, right? Because it just kind of brings this up. I guess the argument is, the reason why they've done that is they actually on Twitch go and post the final games. Now, they also do that for the Steamroller type masters as well, but I don't know why they break that up. I understand that these things will be on Twitch, so you want them painted, but why don't you showcase the other ones too and say those also need to be painted, right? Why not say the default is you need to be painted, and then just has as the variant saying, if it is a TO with a relaxed tournament, you don't need to be painted, right? Why not do it that way? And then all of a sudden, all these arguments just, poof, go away. So that is unfortunate. So many dudes. Running out of water because it's so hot. I should have set up a pitcher of water. I felt kind of like I had to withhold my inner nerd today because, like I said, I'm trying to speed paint over these next 3 days. And so I really need to dedicate and paint as much as possible. At the same time, like you guys should have known, I am leaving Fort McMurray. I've been up here for 8 years, and I already knew, like, on Thursday, I didn't plan to paint on Thursday because the guys from the gaming group, one of them at least wants to, we're going to go out for drinks and stuff after, right? So Thursday I said, all right, Thursday I'm playing my last game up here with my buddy, and then we're going out for drinks. Well, I went to work today, and my boss was like, hey, we're going to be taking you out on Wednesday, okay? So keep Wednesday free, and we'll go get some steak or something. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh no, I don't want to go and eat with you people. I don't want to go and be social. I want to go home, and I want to lock myself in my little room here, and I want to paint. But I don't want to say that. So like, okay, we can do that. And really what that's going to mean is, because what's even worse is that with this blitz I'm doing, I decided that with the community arguing about stuff being painted, not painted, why don't I use this as kind of like an ignition spot to kind of like get people painting regardless? Because if everybody has painted models, who's going to care to argue about, does it have to be painted? Who cares? Your stuff already is. So I kind of did a challenge out to the group saying, hey, I'm going to be painting these stuff for these 3 days. The simple challenge out to the group was for each of those 3 days that you need to paint one model as well, right? Nice and simple. The problem is that I already said on there, on the Monday, I'm going to do the 10 Sword Knights, and on the Tuesday, I have to do 10 Nis Hunters, and on the Wednesday, I'm going to do these 7 Gun Mages. And now, all of a sudden on the Wednesday, I'm going to be busy. So I've already announced, and put out the challenge to everybody else. And now my Wednesday is going to be busy. So now what I have to do is decide whether I am going to stay up extra late today and tomorrow to make sure I can get done my Wednesday work so that Wednesday is pretty easy, or I am going to have to just be up super late on Wednesday, which is probably not a good idea. Although I probably could do it. I probably should just do a mix of both. But yeah, good old Malorian always getting himself in trouble. Always the way. And again, I mean, throwing the challenge out there too, I'm still not seeing many reports for against demons. So if you have any demons in your areas, go and play a game against them. Or if you have demons that you have an army for, pull them out. Play a game, make a battle report, be a part of the Across the World in 12 Games campaign. I think, we're like on month 5 out of 12 for the campaign or something like that. One of the things I guess it wasn't clear to people is that these armies are random, right? I don't kind of say like, hey, I want to play dwarves this week, and then I decide, okay, this month is going to be dwarves. It really is random. When it comes up to, really, to be honest, the way that I do it is that when it comes time for me to make the post, I look down at the clock, and whatever the minutes is, I divide that up by the amount of armies that are left, and okay, it's going to be this. And it's that simple. I guess there really was people out there who thought that I was picking these armies. They're like, well, of course you're not getting many demons. You picked an army that most people don't have. Well, I didn't pick it. It's kind of more random. So, but anyway, I mean, if we get these difficult ones out of the way first, it'll just make it all the easier later. So there is that. And it's so crazy too, right? For a guy like me who was playing in 7th, where demons were everywhere, and they were the absolute powerhouse that was crushing everyone. And now it's at a time where, like, man, I can't find any demons. I know they're part of the campaign, but there's just no demon players. It's just an absolute switch. Still looking forward to getting some Wood Elf games too. I actually was kind of hoping they would come up Wood Elves to force me to use them. I see that a few people are still, even just now they're getting out like, oh, here's a game with the new Wood Elves, right? Our first game. They've been out for a while. We're almost at the point where Bretonnians are coming out. But I guess something else I could talk about is that Anthony did a video on his channel talking about why he wasn't doing his Wood Elves. Because, of course, as the book was coming up, he was really pumped for them. And he was going to be playing with them and making an army. And he was going to be the Wood Elves guy and what have you. I'm kind of exaggerating there. But he was just really pumped to play Wood Elves. And then Wood Elves come out, and it's just not really anything there. And, it really is something where I was kind of worried about it happening when he said he was going to do Wood Elves. Because it's one of those things where it can be a very one-sided battle one way or the other, right? Either they have the tools to deal with your Wood Elves or you don't, and it can just be extremely one-sided. So, for example, if you don't have the war machines like a Doom Diver or Hellblaster or Organ Gun that work on things that aren't just monsters, that are also kind of dealing with fast cav and mobile units, if you don't have the range units, if you don't have the magic missiles, well, all of a sudden, they just run the hell around you, right? First turn, they can shoot down all your chaff. They're already in a position where if the game ends, they win. And it's more just about than the opponents trying to desperately catch them while they then decide what's the next weakest unit. And all archers there. Pew, 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 pew. Or even now, it's even worse than it used to be, where now, while that's happening as well, where's your characters? Okay, Waystalkers go. Pew, 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 pew. So, oh, man. Again, I'm kind of wishing I had my Glade Riders painted. because I got tons of them. You guys have seen my battle reports I did with the last book. And really, if I had them painted up, I would just need to do like one more Waystalker, and I'd be good for a tournament, right? Especially if I go to the one where it is based off of, did you get 100 more victory points? It's a win. Or even like one of the ones that they do here, the way they break it up is if you get 100 more victory points, it's a minor win. If you get double or more the victory points of the opponent, it's a massacre. Well, I gotta tell you, 0 times 2 is still 0, and so if I have any victory points, massacre. So, I mean, a system like that can work really well for Wood Elves. So, really be nice to have them to be able to go to something like that. If I... I'm kind of looking forward to doing the Nis Hunters more tomorrow because, I mean, even though these guys, I went and I did lots of the details already, there still is, like I said, a lot of little detail work I need to do. The Nis Hunters tomorrow, these guys are basically ninja elves. They are like shades for dark elves. They have their ninja sword, they have their bows, and really, their color scheme is going to be so easy. In fact, I'm wondering if people are going to call me out on how easy my color scheme is, because really, I'm going to do is they are ninjas. I am going to paint them black. I am going to then do a really fine dry brush of, or like a really dry brush of white over it to just kind of pull out the details of it so that's not just complete blackness. And then really on top of that, paint the skin, paint the metal, done. So, whereas these guys are already started, and I'm seeing how even then, this is going to be taking me quite a few hours tonight to get these guys finished. Apart from having to do the eyes, man, those Nis Hunters tomorrow should be super, super fast. You know, especially because I'm pretty sure that when I'm done this stuff, I'm going to have time to go back to it, put on all, like, get the black done so that everything is black to start with. And from there, it's going to be pretty easy. So that'll be nice. Plus, it's a pretty badass unit game-wise, so... Again, it's just one of those things where finally it's painted, and then I have that option forever. Getting back to painting in fantasy, I'm into the last month of my painting tale for fantasy, and I really did not know what to paint. Up until now, I was really cranking out the points by doing trolls, but I'm still in a spot where I need to do like 300 points or more to finish off the tale to end up at 2,000 points. And I was like, well, man, I'm just... Especially where I'm painting these guys as well, what am I going to do to get that done? And what I did is to kind of reward myself for getting back and getting out of Fort McMurray and back to Edmonton. I bought myself a little treat, a Orc and Goblin unit model that I have wanted for a long time, but it was just super expensive, so... I kind of put it off because I didn't really need it. It was just kind of going to be more of a silly choice. But I did it. And it is the Azhag Wyvern model, which is expensive. Oh, man. But he is a great-looking model. Of course, I've already brought back my Wyverns now. Not that I could do a comparison anyway, because I didn't build the other one yet. But the old ones, they look pretty static and stuff like this. The Wyvern from that special character just looks fantastic. Looks awesome. And the war boss, Azhag, riding it looks awesome as well. And he has some kind of crazy rules. Basically, he is the original wizard hat. His crown makes him a level 2 of death magic. And because it kind of whispers to him, he also has stupidity. Or at least that's how it was in the last book. I'll have to double check to make sure that's how it still is now. But yeah, he will be fun to go around. And it's one of those things where I can realistically do it in a week and then finish off the tale. and then do battle reports with it. So one of the things I haven't gone back to look at yet is how many points it is. I hope it's not like Mazda Mondi, where it's like, yeah, this guy's so cool, oh, I could never use him. Unless for some reason there's like a 5,000 point tournament. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. Actually, the big thing that I really hope is going to happen is that in the new book that they make it so that just like how now nobles for the elves can be on griffins, please, 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 please make it so that big boss orcs can be on wyverns. So then I can use all three and it's going to be fantastic. Monster flying orcs circus. But we'll see what they do there. I'm still looking forward to see what they do with the Bretts as well. Especially, I can't wait to start seeing some pictures, right? I mean, when the Wood Elves came out and they showed us the pictures of the tree men, it was like, holy, jaw-dropping awesome, right? So what do they have in store for the Bretonnians? And who knows, maybe while I'm putting this video out, the spoilers are already out there. But as of right now, as I'm painting, I have not seen anything. And are they going to get a big monster? What are they going to change? One of the things I'm actually going to do with this army, especially because how I don't own Bretonnians anymore, is I'm actually not going to buy the book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the PDF. As long as it's cheaper. I've heard some people saying that, I haven't done any PDFs before, but I heard some people saying that the PDFs are just as much. I'll have to look into that, and then that'd be just stupid. But, you know, I might as well save some money, right? It's one of these things where, to be completely honest, I really am buying the book mainly just to do the army review for you guys. Sure, for myself, to be competitive, I need to know what's going on. But I watch enough reviews elsewhere, just like how you guys watch mine, that I can figure out what to worry about anyway, right? I don't need to read the book. You know, between what I read on the forums and stuff like that and doing a few practice games, I could piece it together and save myself the X number of dollars. But I think this time, assuming the PDFs are cheaper, I'm going to go that route. I'm still going to be doing the army review. And we'll kind of see what they do this time. They've been doing pretty good so far for 8th armies. But this is also going to be the last army until 9th. So also trying to look for those Easter eggs. There's little hints in there of like, oh, why would it be worded this way? Oh, I bet you they're going to do this in the new book. And then, man, I mean, the way that GW has been so secretive. You know, is it going to be just 2 months later? That's when 9th's going to come out? I don't know. Again, so different from Privateer Press. Privateer Press releases their release schedule, you know, something like 3 or 4 months in advance. So you know what's coming. You know what to plan for financially. Then you have Games Workshop, and you just have no freaking idea. Right? At least we now know that Bretts will be in July, but what type of units are coming out and what's the prices? I don't know. So if I'm trying to look forward and budget for July, how much money do I put aside to prepare for it? I just have no idea. So at this point here, past the 2 that are finished, I have done the goal on 5. So 3 more to go, so doing pretty damn good. But we're pretty much at the hour here, so I think I'm going to cut it. That's going to allow me to get more water and so forth. But anyway, thanks for watching this Paintisode for my fantasy viewers. Hopefully it wasn't too much War Machine for you. I kept on trying to link it back to fantasy. But yeah, I'm going to keep on going on this. I could be doing another Paintisode tomorrow, so if you guys want to get more Paintisodes, let me know down below. Otherwise, I'm going to try doing the one a week at least. And down below, I'd love to hear what you guys were working on and whatever else you want to chat about. I mean, normally if you throw down a question, I'll answer it. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Bye.